You are tuned to Kenneth Zenith Cablevision. Thank you for watching. It's time for talk. Each evening at this time, Monday through Friday, Rosemary interviews local personalities and others who bring items of interest to this community. Time for Talk is a community betterment service. Tonight, Rosemary takes us by means of portable camera out of our studios and maybe into your neighborhood. And now, it's time for Talk.
Franklin, Tennessee in the spring. I'm telling you, it is a gorgeous sight. There are dogwood trees everywhere. There are locust trees. The countryside is beautiful. Of course, I think hills are beautiful being from the flatlands like we are. But we're going downtown Franklin today because there is, according to this paper, the 20th annual Main Street Festival. And there are over 200 exhibitors. In fact, I think there are 400 from the looks of the crowd down there. And here's just a picture that's an artist's picture, but we're going to turn this picture into the real thing for you. You see that mass of people? You see those booths and exhibits? Just watch. All right, we're downtown Franklin. It's a gray overcast day, but let me tell you, it hasn't stopped anybody from coming out and eating. Look at the mob that's here. And all up and down this street, there are booths of every kind. And you see, we came along and we decided we'd have, let's see, does your Polish sausage and peppers look better than mine? It looks pretty good, doesn't it? Okay, they're having Polish sausage and peppers, and I'm having Polish sausage and peppers at two different booths, so you see the difference. Now, he paid $4 for this many fried green tomatoes. Boy, I could make a fortune at home in my garden with that. And look at this blooming onion. Now, there's enough grease in the bottom of there to fry a big skillet of potatoes when you get through. So we're going to get our quota we'll get our arteries so clogged today, it'll be really great. But you see, and Alice, what are you eating?
Seafood Milano.
Seafood Milano. All right.
Straight out of Milan.
Yeah. And so this is the way we spend our days when we come to visit our kids in Tennessee.
"17 miles down this road is a town called Spring Hill. John Bell Hood is going to be leading an army of 30,000 Confederates. And while he was sleeping in the middle of the night, General Schofield of the Union Army, coming from Columbia, Tennessee, just snuck by, not a half a block away, all of these Confederates. And when Hood woke up and found out the Union Army had slipped by, he was furious. He marched to the outskirts of Franklin. He took his field glasses, looked into Franklin. The whole town was full of Union soldiers. And he told the men, "We'll make the fight." And this battle started a little bit after 4. And by 9:30 at night, it was mostly over. And Claiborne's men came in on the left, 3,000 strong. Brown's division came in this area, 3,700. Then just south of the visitor center was Bates' division, and that is where they find the Carter's youngest son mortally wounded in his own backyard. These round holes are bullet holes. That large hole was a cannonball, came through that area and went out here. 2 Union soldiers at noon was standing on this porch, and they that bullet, that cannonball went from that room out here. Now, the Battle of Franklin was worse than Pickett's charge at Gettysburg. Gettysburg was 3 days. This was 5 hours. And when
This
the
whole battle lasted only 5 hours.
started a little after 4.
And how many people did you say died?
I'll get to that in a second.
Okay, all right.
I have to tell it in order. I can't tell it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, it took Union soldiers were in Franklin. They had rested and they had eaten. So Union soldiers would serve 2 years. But if they had enough money, they could pay somebody $300. They didn't have to serve. And Union soldiers had not run out of men. The South had run out of men. Also, Union soldiers had repeater rifles. They could get 7 shots or 12 shots. The Confederates were still marching shoulder to shoulder in 2 lines. The men in the back would put powder in the guns, hand that gun to the second row. They would shoot and pass that rifle this way. And if you ever watch reenactors, they can do it quite fast. Now, the South had run out of men. There were no more men to serve. They were down to 14-year-old boys. Union soldiers, Confederate soldiers, their uniforms were torn. They had no shoes. And the Civil War should have ended here. But there never was a bigger battle after this one. And this was November 30th, 1864. Now, when the family and friends came out of the basement, there were 49 bodies on this porch. Out here, every 50 feet, every 100, every 200, every 300, from the front of the Carter house, from here a mile down, you could have stepped. You would not have been stepping on ground. You would have been stepping on a dead or wounded man. And the odd thing for the townspeople, some of these people were upright. There was no room to fall over, so they had to touch them and see who was alive and see who was dead. And they took the dead ones and put them side by side in that trench, put their name by them, then hurriedly threw dirt over them. And then a few weeks later, arms and legs were sticking up, and then that's where they divided Union from Confederate. That's the kitchen. From this back porch to the kitchen were 17 dead horses. And this battle, after November 30th, these dead horses were here till the 14th of December. Imagine these little kids seeing this. Mm-hmm. The townspeople did not get here until...
it was such a massive job. There were so many of them.
And as they got here, they carted them away and burned them.
Oh, okay.
And this was 2 weeks before Christmas, so imagine what the little children saw. They were 3 months picking up bullets back here in the backyard, and they put them in bushel baskets and then took them across the street to Carter's Court now and buried them. And then when they built Carter's Court, they found the bullets again.
So somewhere you still see those in this?
After a rain, or it used to be, they would just pop up all the time. But if people have a garden along here or certain areas, you can still find them.
Okay. Now you say this is the kitchen. What about the log cabin down here?
That was a slave cabin.
Okay.
And Mr. Carter had 12 of those slave cabins, and they were in the area down in the parking lot.
Okay. All right. And this building right
The
here?
first brick building there was a smokehouse, and that is original. And there are the bullet holes to the back there, which we'll take a picture of in a few minutes.
All right. And they would...
now that log there is where they salted pork. The red building is Mr. Carter's farm office, and he was a land surveyor. He bought and sold land. When he owned this land, he had 288 acres, so it went all these directions here. And then when we go to the back of the building, you'll see well over 200 bullet holes to the back. The red building was the most battle-scarred building still standing from the whole Civil War. In this doorway, a Union soldier was standing here, and he would shoot and step back. And a bullet came across here. This is original. And there's a bullet lodged in this post. And the bullets got closer and closer to him. And he wanted in bad. So he was beating on the door and they couldn't hear him. And he took his rifle, made a hole in this door, and crawled in and left his gun right here. And a few days after the Battle of Franklin, Moscow Carter, the oldest son, repaired this door, and it has remained that way ever since. And after the Civil War, this soldier came back and got his gun. He was with the Illinois troops.
And this is, are you talking about the path of a bullet that gouged that out?
Yeah,
of
see, that would be right where it'd be. That's what your son was trying to...
Okay. She told us there was such firing going on. Of course, it just took out the sides of the brick, even though they're 3 feet thick. A lot of that crumbled away, and all the bullet holes here. And the old smokehouse, of course, was very interesting to me. Be interesting to know if these were from the same tree. But look at how they made their trough, where, as she said, they salted the meat. As she came on the earlier tour, told us they salted their meat here. This was the smokehouse, and look at the size of this. It probably is the same tree. Here's where they made their lye soap. Incredible.
Now this floor is original. Termites do not eat this wood. That's why we can bring you into this lovely old house and not put you behind plexiglass or yellow ribbon. They don't build houses like this anymore. And as we came in the door, the wall was a foot thick. Now in the basement, it would be 3 times that.
And this is why people came here to hide during the battles?
No, they just was a convenient house, honey. I can't give you a secret on that.
I want to know, is that chamber pot original, do you think?
Yes, that is. All the furniture in here is 1850s to 1860s. We do not have anything in here that is not that time period.
Okay.
And this wallpaper, a copy from original. Now, as this day began, the town was full of Union soldiers, and they felt like there was going to be a battle here. They let school out early. And everybody in Franklin thought, there's too many soldiers, something's going to happen. Mr. Carter came down to the basement and he was trying to prepare. And he wrapped rope around these windows so that if a bullet would hit it, it would bounce off. And Union soldiers came in this room. They were in the middle room. And Mr. Carter was trying to close this door. And Union soldiers were coming down, and he told them, this is our house, you go somewhere else. And one granddaughter said she never heard her grandfather use such English as he did to get that door shut. And then when they came out of the basement, about 40 Union soldiers were in that stairwell, and some fell in and some were wounded. And I think during this whole battle, they probably just exchanged their different positions. Now imagine being down here, the candles blown out, soldiers running up and down across this house.
And the gunfire.
And the gunfire. Imagine how frightened they were. You could hear this 20 miles into Nashville. So imagine what it sounded to them.
You have been watching Time for Talk. Time for Talk is a community betterment service designed to cooperate with our local community betterment program. Each evening, Monday through Friday at this time, Rosemary interviews local personalities and others who bring items of interest to this community. If you are aware of items of interest, please let us know for possible airing on this program. Time for Talk is brought to you through the cooperation of Kennett Cablevision Incorporated and is produced through the facilities of the Slicer Street Church. The Holy Scriptures come alive. Coming up next. Stay tuned.